Hi everyone, today I've got an unboxing of Avalenor The Stoneheart King, and I'm going to tell you how the Lumineth Realm Lords literally move mountains. Stay tuned. So I will just start by showing you the box. Lovely painted miniature as always. You can also build Alarith, Spirit of the Mountain, the war form of the Indomitable Mountain. I will explain a bit more about this as we go along. So, I'll discard this. So there's your two versions. Avalenor has two hammers. Alarith, Spirit of the Mountain, has one big hammer. I am going to do Avalenor. I'm only going to buy one of these guys, so I want to do the special character one. So there we go. Quick look through the instructions. You can do two versions of Alarith, Spirit of the Mountain, so you can have the hammer either side, so you can have more than one and they'd still look cool and unique. And there's a war scroll for Avalenor. And I don't know if I missed it, but there doesn't seem to be one for the Spirit of the Mountain. So that's done with the instructions. There we go, big boy. So there, that's the shoulders, so they're quite broad. It's not quite knight sized, but it's pretty big. And just one more sprue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this together and we can chat a bit more about what these guys actually are, because I really like the lore on these guys. Kinda like Ents in Lord of the Rings, if I'm telling the truth. First things first, this is a really good looking model. The build was good, there were no tricky parts, it all went together perfectly. Everything slotted together as it should. It took me 1 hour and 45 minutes start to finish with no breaks. I'm quite slow, so I'm sure some of you could do it a lot quicker. I took a bit of extra time cleaning the model. Lumineth models are extremely unforgiving for mould lines. There's a lot of pictures out there with great paint jobs that have just been ruined by that little mould line on the shoulder pads of the spearmen and the horsemen. I did it on my own miniatures. I thought I'd got all the mould lines off, and I even ran a fingernail over the line to see if it was gone, and it just, as soon as I primed it, it showed up again. So extremely annoying, and something as small as that can ruin the best paint job, so take extra time and just give it that little extra scrape just to get rid of it. There are a few gaps around the model, most notably on the mountain on his back, but I think that's more to do with my building than the model. And just get a wee bit of putty or green stuff or something like that and fill the gaps anyway. It's meant to be a mountain, so there's meant to be cracks and things in it, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. I've seen a lot of stuff around the internet on this guy being small. I don't see that at all. I think he's a really good sized model. I think if he was any bigger he'd look a bit silly. So I've done a little comparison with a Stormcast, and I've also done against an Imperial Knight. Obviously he's smaller than the Knight, but he's a lot bigger than a Knight Armiger. So he's a good sized model. Please don't look at the paint job on the Knights. They're a work in progress. A few of you might be wondering why I'm called the Half Done Hobbyist. It's because all my projects are half done and I struggle to finish anything. Right, let's get onto the background of these guys now. The Alarith Spirits of the Mountain are crafted from the tallest, most imposing, most powerful peaks. The Spirits of the Mountain rarely march to war as well. It takes a long time to prepare a Spirit of the Mountain for war. First, a sculpture has to be created out of rock, and this is done with mostly Alarith magic. The peak on the back of the statue is a tiny representation of the ecosystem of the mountain that the spirit comes from. There are trees and grassy slopes, although these aren't represented on the models, but I suppose you could paint the grassy slopes on if you wanted. Maybe a wee bit of flock on there. A mask in the shape of an Emetrican longhorn is formed by the Lumineth, as the longhorn is said to be immortal. It's basically a big mountain cow. A massive two-handed hammer is painstakingly forged as well, with great detail and with great care, so that the spirit will not be offended by it when it's handed over to them. Rune-covered banners are made and hung from the massive mantle, which is the bit across the chest and the shoulders. The armour is forged from sun metal and it's quenched in freezing mountain lakes. The armour is strong enough to deflect and protect from even the most vicious attacks, sometimes even direct artillery strikes, so dwarves. After all that's been created, the spirit has to be persuaded to take part in a war that they might see as being beneath them. This is the part that I thought was similar to the Ents from Lord of the Rings, because Merry and Pippin had to persuade Treebeard to get the Ents to march to war. So there are similarities. The Lumineth spend a long time, usually many weeks, putting forth their arguments to the spirit of the mountain. The spirit will only join if the fabric of reality is in danger, so chaos, easy. Tribesmen that might worship dark gods, almost unwittingly, easy. And the spirit will most likely join them. The effort's obviously worth it, as one of these things is an absolute god on the battlefield. Very little can stand before them, even monstrous creatures. One swing of the hammer in a Maw Crusher's skull, for example, will take it out. Avalenor is a bit different. No one knows where he came from, and he was already fully formed when he arrived at the Lumineth Temple. It was Selenar, spirit of the moon of Hysh, that persuaded Avalenor to fight for the Lumineth. He's sculpted from ether quartz, which absorbs the light of the realms, and has been doing so for many thousands of years. He strides into battle with a radiant glow, even on the darkest of battlefields, such as anything in the realm of Ulgu, for example. He's got a different armament to the spirits of the mountain, so he wields two hammers, and they're known as fire stealers, so they channel the winter cold from his mountain. They strike fiercely and leave a frozen husk behind, sometimes blackened because all the heat's been taken out of the target. That's quite cool. He's not just a god of war, he's also a great advisor. He might take a while to answer a well thought out question, but it's usually always worth the wait. After all, if something is worth saying, it's worth taking a long time to say. So in summary, if you're into the Lumineth at all, I'd highly recommend picking one of these guys up. They look awesome and they have a great backstory. Let me know in the comments if you have plans to pick one up, or if you have any interesting ideas for yours. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.